Good afternoon, morning, evening, whenever. I don't even know what time it is. I think it's Saturday. I think it's Saturday everywhere, but I don't know because maybe some people are going to watch this on Sunday. So hello to everybody out there. I think I indicated I was annoyed, and I am annoyed, and I'll get to the annoyance part. Obviously, not legal advice. Like, subscribe, share, comment, do anything you want. I've been away for like a week. I had a very interesting week. My wife had pneumonia. That was the first part of the week. And then she had a fall, second part of the week. So I was kind of tied up with that. Although in communication with everybody I can with regard to gtii, which I'm going to talk about a little bit today. So before we get started, and before I express my annoyance, I just have a couple of short points to make because, I haven't had a chance to tell any bad jokes. So I decided to make these particularly bad today. So what disputed territory makes the best sweaters? Of course, the answer is cashmere. And what mountains have the most male inhabitants? Along with the first answer, the obvious answer is the Himalayas. And last but not least, at my age, the only time I get asked for sex is on an application form. Wish I could speak there. Would have been a better punchline if I could say it. Anyway, here to talk about gtii. I've kind of like not said anything because I was hoping that certain things would be filed. Now, I don't believe so. Let me back up. So kind of set the framework. So gtii, there's a case obviously in Nevada. I'm one of the plaintiffs, along with a bunch of other people. We're represented by counsel. I have no problem with our counsel, and I think our counsel is very good and aggressive and timely. They got the receiver appointed. I've frequent conversations with them. I express my point of view, suggestions. They're responsive, and that's kind of where I will leave it with them. So only good things to say about them. Then we have the receiver, and the receiver is doing his thing, although I haven't seen a report in quite some time and I haven't heard from him. So that's one of my issues is where's the report and where's an update? Because I think we started this with complete transparency. Now, let me back up before I kind of bitch. I'm not claiming there's anything nefarious or there's nothing. I'm not concerned about anybody doing something under the table or somebody interfering with this going forward. My complaint concerns the time it's taking and the pace. And I'll get into that. So I've been waiting for certain things. I think I even referenced it either in tweets or a prior video or live stream. I was waiting for certain filings. I was expecting certain documents to be filed. I know they're in process. Well, I don't know they're in process because I haven't seen them, but my understanding is they're in process. 2 motions. I'm not going to say what they are. Because there is a punchline here, and I'm going to wait a week, so you'll hear the punchline. But there's 2 motions that I think are going to be filed. And I've been told about this, reference it for over 3 weeks that they were going to be filed. And even yesterday, I got information they were going to be filed. But I checked today, and I checked the court site in Nevada. And as of today, or as of the end of yesterday, I checked 5 minutes ago, it doesn't show that there's been any filings. There were filings with regard to prior things, but as to these 2 motions, which are, I think, essential to completing the transaction with AIversity, as of 1:04 p.m. Pacific time on May 3rd, 2025, I have not seen them filed. And again, I've been hearing about this for 3 weeks. So am I concerned about why they're not filed? Yes. But my concern doesn't relate to motive. It relates to workload. I don't know if the attorneys representing the receiver don't have enough manpower to complete this work in a timely fashion. I just don't know, because I haven't heard anything from them. And let me back up. So my last bitching session with my counsel, our counsel for plaintiff, I bitched because I said, I won't bitch unless I hear nothing. When I hear no information, that's what get me to be actively bitching about something. So I told them that the last time, and I'm not bitching at them. I'm bitching at the receiver and the receiver's counsel here. So haven't heard anything from the receiver, haven't heard anything from the receiver's counsel. I've been expecting these motions to be filed for 3 weeks. I know that AIversity is anxious for those motions to be filed also. No excuse for not having them filed. If it's an issue of manpower, then the receiver needs to add additional manpower to the legal team. If it's not an issue of manpower, then there is no explanation that's been provided. And that pisses me off. There's no reason it should take 3 weeks to file something. No reason. And again, if there's not enough manpower, then call up plaintiff's counsel who represents plaintiff and engage their services and have their fees paid out of the receivership estate. But again, 3 weeks, not acceptable. And if I have to bitch on these videos to get them to do it, I'm going to bitch. And I would suggest anybody out there who's a GTii shareholder to let the receiver know directly. So contact the receiver, reach out to him. There's a site, there's email. Ask him, what's going on? Why the delay? Why is counsel being slow? Please act. Where's the receipt? Where's your report? What's the status of the audit? When are the motions going to be filed? Just gave you a bunch of things to ask. Direct them at the receiver. Put the pressure on the receiver. He hasn't put out a report. He's not communicating with me. I understand why he's not communicating with me, but he hasn't. We're waiting, and there's no excuse for waiting. For example, I note, and a bunch of people pointed it out to me, that this thing is trading. I know it's trading in Canada, but there was one day I saw where I think there were 330,000 shares traded on one day. I pointed out to our counsel who did pass it on to the receiver's counsel, but I haven't heard anything about that either. And I don't know if they're undertaking any action in that regard. So bottom line, this is the bottom line. If the receiver's counsel needs additional support to complete these tasks more quickly, then they should ask for it, and the receiver should seek that. If the receiver is overdue for a report, so please report on that. Please file the motions. Please update us as to the audit. My understanding is, and again, I haven't seen anything, the receiver hasn't told me, but I understand that the audit is basically done, waiting for some types of confirmations from somebody. And again, somebody needs to push on that. Really hard, push on that. And again, if they don't have time to do it, then find somebody else who does. This is not like somebody's not getting paid for these services. So if they're getting paid for doing these services, then let's get them done quickly. So I'm referring to the receiver's counsel and the receiver. The receiver's just got to push. There's no excuse. That's what he's there for. He's supposed to be acting for the best interests of shareholders. So push. And if your counsel's moving too slow, then push. Again, this is not a freebie. This is not somebody doing volunteer work, and there's no excuse. Zero. Now, there was an additional point that was raised by John Forrester on his X, and I don't know what he was alluding to, but I'm going to speculate. I don't know if it was a couple days ago, or maybe it was yesterday, and he referenced that, and this is same discussion. He was referencing that apparently there were, and again, I don't think he referenced names, so I don't know specifically who he's referring to, but he referenced that certain shareholders of GTii were balking at returning their shares, and that might end up going very badly for them. So my point here would be, if there are shareholders at gtii who've committed misconduct and they're balking at returning their shares, then the receiver and their counsel have to drop the hammer. Not, I was going to say dick around, but I won't say dick around. Not be passive, not try to ask nice. If they don't cooperate, then take the hammer out. If those guys end up going to jail, then so be it. I bet you everybody who is listening to this would not mind if the parties that we think committed misconduct according to the receiver ended up in the pokey. I don't think anybody would lose a night's sleep over that. So if those same parties are dicking around and not agreeing to turn their shares back, then F them. Put them in the pokey. Get the shares back that way. If you sue somebody and they're in jail, it'll be harder for them to defend themselves in civil court. Enough nice, passive waiting. So that was based upon what John Forster posted, I think, on X 2 days ago. And why would somebody be concerned, by the way? Why would they be? Now, I'm trying to speculate. Why would somebody who, according to the receiver's reports, committed various acts of misconduct, why would they be reluctant to capitulate? One might be not enough pressure is being brought on them. And, I don't know about that because I don't know specific. I haven't been advised specifically what they're doing in the current time frame. But I'm trying to think now from the, let's say, the bad guy's perspective, what they might have done or what they might be thinking. So if they have to turn back shares, what could their concerns be? Could they end up, with problem with the SEC? I guess that's possible. Could they end up with problems with other regulatory bodies? I guess that's possible too. Could it be a financial issue? I mean, could they not afford to return the shares? Do they need the money? I guess that's possible too. Could there be some IRS concerns? Could they be concerned that, and I don't know, maybe they haven't reported all the income and maybe they think that maybe they have concerns about that. I don't know. I'm just kind of speculating, as I often do, as to that. But I think it's got to be dealt with. And again, I don't care what their concerns are. If they balk, this is not, again, we don't have, part of this story is the longer this goes on, the more fees, legal fees that are paid out. There's no benefit to us that if this goes longer. No benefit to share. Well, let me back up. There is some benefit because we can clear out the garbage. And I know that Forster talked about the old management and clear out the garbage. But the flip side is the longer this goes on, the more in fees that has to be paid out. That's not to our advantage. So speed is important. And if we don't get, in this case, I give a shit about the prior management. And again, if they all go to jail, then so be it. And if they're not willing to capitulate, then so be it. Then let's act accordingly. This, again, to me, relates to the same issue that I started off with, why we haven't filed the 2 motions, why I don't have a current receiver's report, why I don't know about the current state of the audit, why all those things. Kind of the same thing, a lack of aggression. And again, based upon the receiver's report, this is not a case where there's not justification for aggression. And I'm not talking about physical aggression. I'm talking about legal aggression. No justification, no excuse. And again, I've waited 3 weeks, so I've bit my tongue. Haven't heard anything. And as I told my guys before, if you don't tell me, I'm going to blast somebody, because that appears the only way to get these guys off their ass. Trying to think of anything else I have to add to this. I saw somebody posted the 440,000. I thought it was 330,000. I noticed I think I saw that the short count was pretty low, so not shorted, but the activity is large, and all of us in the U.S. can't do that, and we don't know if it might be bad guys who are disposing of shares. That's what I kind of communicated to our counsel, communicated to the Receivers Council. So anything else I want to talk about? Oh yeah, so I'm going to kind of wait a week. So I'm just going to be forthright. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, because I'm thinking about it. So I'm bitching, and I speak to our counsel, and I can speak, legalese, so we are all on the same page. I've attended hearings, so I've been involved that way. But I don't have a direct right to sign off on anything, which means I don't have the exact leverage that I would like. So a few weeks ago, I thought about, should I just substitute in? So in other words, I'm a plaintiff in this case, but I'm represented by counsel. Should I just substitute in pro per, representing myself as a plaintiff, and then I'm able to interject myself in the proceedings? Do I really want to do that? Do I really want to be obligated to go to Vegas every whatever and spend money and incur costs? No, not really. But it's something I thought about, something I proposed, and then when I proposed it a few weeks ago, I decided to pass on it at that time. So now I'm thinking about it again, and I'm going to wait a week and see what happens. I want to see if these motions are filed next week. I want to see if we get a receiver's report. I want to see if an audit is done. If I see that or get information or it's made clear, then I'll pass for the time being in putting myself in pro per and appearing in the case, and being an attorney and a plaintiff in this case alongside everybody, so I can kind of have a better hand. But I'll give them a week. Give them a week to see what they do. Perhaps that will be incentive enough that they'll get it done. But I got to make it. Just can't sit here. It's not at this point in time. It needs to move faster. It needs to move with more aggression. And we need to close this out. We need to get it trading, amongst other things. So again, what I would suggest to everybody out there who's interested, any shareholders, contact the receiver, ask, why is it taking so long? Where's the receiver's report? When are we going to get that? What's the status of the audit? What's the status of recouping shares, etc.? Ask. If there's enough people asking, and ask nicely, by the way. Don't be obnoxious. Don't be obnoxious like me. Ask nicely, be polite, but be persistent. And the receiver is working for the benefit of shareholders and the company. So we are it. So make yourself known and put the pressure on. We shouldn't be in the dark, and this shouldn't be dragging, and they shouldn't act passively. And that's the way I see it at this point in time. So I urge you, reach out nicely, encourage activity, and as soon as I hear anything, I will let you know also. And just the last thing I'm going to throw out to the MMTLP crowd, I can't really say specifically, and I don't know specifically because I've never spoken to the person, but I really would suggest communicating directly with Devin Nunes as to MMTLP. I think that would be an interesting, and I know it's been done, but I think that should be really focused upon in the future. I think there's a potential similarity, congruity, whatever the stupid word you want to use, between those situations. So I would suggest reach out and, keep on reaching out in a nice way. Ask for assistance, provide information, provide whatever. But I think that would be a good relationship, because I think that's ultimately going to be a very powerful position, I think, as it goes on. So anything else I wanted to add? I'm going to quickly look at, you didn't hear 5 jokes. I did. I gave 3 terrible ones. When I'm aggravated, it's harder for me to do the good jokes. Now, a lot of you would believe there are no good jokes, so that's a tough one. What are you going to say? Anyway, I have nothing else to say. If you have comments, questions, put them after I post this stupid video, put them in the comment section. I will try to answer. Let me know. Also, reach out to me if and when you speak to the receiver or communicate with the receiver. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know how it's going for you. And again, as soon as I hear anything to the contrary, if I hear that they've made filings, if I've heard that the receiver report's out, if I hear the audit's done, all that stuff, I will let you know. And of course, when those documents, if and when those documents are filed, I will go over them and we'll discuss them on one of these live streams too. I'm hoping, again, it's within the next week. And again, if it's not the next week, then I'll consider whether I should go in and step in as an individual plaintiff and representing myself in Nevada. One last thing, and that's why I was a little annoyed also. There is a hearing May 28th, which I'll probably go to, in Nevada. And it's kind of a status conference. And I think the understanding was as to the motions that were going to be filed, and I don't know this personally, but I think this is kind of the logic, that as those motions that were going to be filed, they were probably going to be heard at the same time as the status conference. They don't appear to be filed. Nobody's provided me a copy. Haven't seen it on the court site. I don't know if there's enough time to have it heard on the same date. I think that's just a misstep. And again, no excuse for that. Again, if I won't reiterate. I've reiterated enough. So I will leave it at there. If I hear anything, I'll let you know. Keep me apprised. Everybody be well. And if I hear anything over the weekend besides this, I will certainly post and update you. See you soon. Be well. Have a great Saturday and talk to you soon.